And welcome to another episode of LSU Live, a special edition of LSU Live per se. As this is the post-game reaction show over here at the Voice of College Football Network. I'm Grant Sasser, joined here by Zach Junda of the LSU YouTube channel of the Voice of College Football. LSU just earned a huge 16-9 victory over West Virginia, and now they're one game away from advancing to Omaha. But first, before we get to that, Zach, how has this last week been for you? Because I know it's been a pretty hectic week. I know you had to make a recovery from COVID, and now we finally have you back, man, after COVID. I mean, I've had that before. That's not an easy thing to deal with.
I'm a lot better knowing now that it looks like Cade Anderson survived his little scare when he took the ball off of the arm or the back in the second inning. So my Tick, what's up? Sorry, Tick's in the chat. LSU Twitter legend Tick, my guy. But yeah, after Anderson took that shot on his arm or his back, my life flashed before my eyes, and it looks like we're okay now. So I don't know about you, but I couldn't breathe for a couple minutes.
I think it was good. It was kind of a scary thing because you weren't sure, like, if where it hit, like, did it hit his shoulder, like how would his throwing be after that. But that seemed to be like the Joe Burrow hit against UCF, where he took a little bit of a minor scare, but everything seems like it's going okay. But before we do a full breakdown, we're gonna play a little quick clip for you guys, a little promotional deal we're doing over here at the Voice of College Football Network. And when after the video, we'll give you guys a full breakdown on what's going on with the Super Regional. We'll also talk about LSU's chances to be, are they the favorite right now to win Omaha, given the amount of teams that have been eliminated so far. And we'll also talk about Cade Anderson's legacy at LSU, because he may have pitched his very last game at LSU. But we're going to play this quick clip, and we'll get right to it.
You can make a difference here at the Voice of College Football. Use the Amazon link. Financially contribute to the Voice of College Football without spending a penny. Same shopping experience. It's easy. Go to any video on any channel. Go to the description section and grab the link right next to the capital letters that say Amazon. Use that link, and Amazon will instantaneously convert to your account, settings, history, everything intact, just like whatever link you use right now. No difference. Pay no attention to the product that you see right there. Just go search what you want. Don't forget the Amazon link. Thank you for your support. Sincerely, the Voice of College Football.
But yes, once again, if you guys are joining us, Grant Sasser, Zach Junda here at the Voice of College Football Network. Make sure to like this video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and then also make sure to click on the bell, because if you click on the bell, it will notify you anytime we release a new video. But Zach, let's break this game down. A huge victory for LSU, 16-9 over West Virginia. One game away from Omaha, and it looks like everything's smooth sailing. Anthony Ianson will be pitching tomorrow for your LSU Fighting Tigers. And actually, I will be there tomorrow in the press box. Of course, I also write for Chris City Sports. One of our interns got the opportunity to cover Game 1 of the Super Regional. And then I'll be covering Game 2. And hopefully not, knock on wood, Game 3. Because I don't want to drive to Baton Rouge back to back. Look, I don't mind driving to Baton Rouge, but like back to back from New Orleans, I don't want to keep making that drive, of course, back to back. But I think LSU should win Game 2 tomorrow. Just considering the fact that, and this is something Zach, I'm not sure if you saw the video, but I had on Alex Day of College Baseball Central on Go Time, and we discussed the matchup and everything like that. One of the things that we both brought up was the lack of bullpen that West Virginia has. And you saw that in this game. The second that Griffin Kern was relieved of his duties on the mound, that's when LSU started getting all those runs in. That was evident today. And I'm almost positive that's going to be evident tomorrow as well.
It was weird because when they pulled Kern, it was only 3-1, but it looked like Sabins was almost like waving the white flag and conceding because he wasn't going to his top bullpen arms. I thought that was a really weird just way he handled it. I mean, you got to get to Monday before you can play Monday, right? And there's no guarantee there's going to be a Monday. So I thought that was weird. And I think his name was Glasscock. That kid just didn't have it. He was the one who threw 7 pitches and like 5 of them went over like Ethan Fry's head. You could tell he was literally and figuratively melting in the heat out there. He just was not up for the challenge. And honestly, I didn't think pulling Kern, I thought that was kind of premature too, because he gave up the 3-run homer to Curry up. That was the first hit he gave up in 4 innings. You know, why not ride that out a little bit, especially since, you know, in the second you did kind of tag up Cade Anderson a little bit. I thought it was really weird that Sabins kind of sort of maybe waved the white flag. I don't get it. I mean, I guess obviously they got to go all in now tomorrow because your season's over otherwise, but to not go to like someone like shout out Reese Basinger, like saw him at Sullivan's Steakhouse last night. The wife and I were out celebrating our anniversary.
Well, happy anniversary, man.
Thanks. 2 years married. But he was talking to this couple, and we were kind of sort of eavesdropping, and we looked him up, and he's like their top or second best bullpen option. And I don't know, I just don't get why you wouldn't have gone to someone like him in that scenario. But it clearly was for LSU's gain because, like you said, that bottom of the bullpen, or really the whole bullpen, that's not West Virginia's strength, and LSU just teed off on them once Kern got out the game.
Yeah, I mean, it was just a really weird ordeal. I mean, usually you don't, you know, a lot of teams would go to their best bullpen guys, but that also is attributed to, you know, the lack of players they have in their bullpen. And even their top bullpen guys have been struggling. I actually wrote an article about this and actually have it in my notes here. But Reese Basinger, who's had 29 appearances so far this season, which is the most of West Virginia's team, and also has 5 saves on the year, which is also a tied for team high. But he's given up 13 hits and a walk in his last 3.2 innings, and that was in the regional on Saturday and Sunday. Chase Myers, who's also another guy they like to use out of the bullpen, he's given up 10 earned runs. He gave up 10 earned runs in his last 8 Big 12 innings. And then Carson Estridge, who also has a lot of appearances for West Virginia. He has 5 saves in the year, which is tied for the most in West Virginia to go along with Reese Basinger. But he has a 6.14 ERA, and he's given up 8 home runs on the season. And he's given up 4 home runs in his last 4 appearances. And to put that into consideration, he's pitched 48.1 innings. That's and the only other pitchers given up more than him was Cade Anderson. But Cade Anderson is LSU's ace, and he's pitched 96 innings this season. Well, he pitched 103 this season after today's game.
Yeah, and maybe it's a point where West Virginia doesn't have statistically, they don't have a good bullpen. So maybe there really is just no good option for them. But I don't know, like the guys that they rolled or they elected not to use are so much more effective than the ones they ended up going with. And I wonder, I didn't get a chance to listen to Saban's. I might be saying it wrong too, by the way. If I am, I'm sorry, Coach.
I think it's Saban's. Yeah, I think
Saban's like Nick Saban, plural, multiple Sabans.
Yeah. By the way, ironically, Nick Saban's from West Virginia.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
On point.
But I wonder if anyone asked him, like, hey, would you, if you had the chance to do that over, would you? Do you maybe you think you pulled Kearns too early? I wish I could have seen what he said, but I don't have any transcripts right now. Actually, let me check my inbox right now.
Yeah, but I'll say this though too: is like he was getting way up in the pitch count. If you actually look at the amount of pitches he threw, I'm actually pulling up right now. If you look at the amount of pitches he threw 82 total pitches, and that was through 4 innings. So his pitch count was getting up there. And you also got to factor this too. He's in his last 3 outings, he's averaged close to 125 pitches per outing, right? In his last outing, he threw 118 pitches. So he's got to be really tired. And then also this LSU offense has kind of been on fire the last couple of weeks. If you look at the last, this is actually the first time since the SEC tournament where LSU did not hit 10 hits. Right, the last 4 games they've had 10 hits or more. This game they were only at 8, but those 8 hits produced 16 runs, and you had 2 grand slam home runs too. So LSU took the most of their opportunities. But yeah, it was when you are up on your total pitches, get up with the guy that is your ace, and then you don't really have a reliable bullpen. I mean, what other options did he have? I'm gonna actually pull up, and maybe he says something in the transcripts, but
yeah, I've got the transcript right here. They asked if the score is different, if it's a little closer, does that lead to different choices? Basinger, maybe Meyer, guys like that. And Saban says, I think every game situation is going to dictate who you decide to go to. There's too many variables to decide, but certainly score is one of them. But who is hitting, what the score is, the situation, how far along in the game you are, all that plays into those decisions. So that's a long ways away of saying, yeah, I think I kind of threw in the white flag there, which it's interesting because again, it wasn't 13-1, it was 3-1, and by that point it just spiraled out of control, but I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. I just want to give it a quick update since everyone's watching this live, but Arkansas defeated Tennessee 43 in game 1 of the Fayetteville Super Regional. The winner of that Super Regional will play LSU in the opening round of the College World Series. So that's something to keep an eye on. But I mean, even if LSU wasn't supposed to play Arkansas or Tennessee, I think that is the most intriguing Super Regional there is because both programs have a lot of tradition. Although Tennessee maybe a little bit more has come recently, but even before Patella got that, they had been to the College World Series a few times. I think most recently in the early 2000s. But Tony Patello was Dave Van Horn's protege. Dave Van Horn's the head coach of Arkansas. Patello served on the staff. Tennessee has not beaten Arkansas and Fayetteville since Patello's become the head coach. So there's a lot of great storylines there. And it's a big rivalry, right? It's a huge rivalry. I mean, there's a lot of Arkansas fans that reside in Tennessee because they're border state, and there's a lot of Tennessee fans that reside in Arkansas. It's a very unique, it's a unique rivalry in baseball, and really it's the one that's probably one of the more faster growing ones, just given Tennessee's recent success and of course the ties the two programs have together. But going back to the game, let's do a kind of a recap. Well, we're already doing a recap, but kind of give you guys what happened during the game and what transpired. So, West Virginia got on the board early in the 1-0 lead. They did a great job getting guys on base. They had a sacrifice bunt, which allowed both base runners to go in fancy scoring position, and that led to a run. Jace Reinhardt grounded out to third base, but it allowed a runner to come home to get a 1-0 early 1-0 lead. Kate Anderson was firing on all cylinders. That's why LSU was able to kind of stay in the game and keep it at 1-0 instead of expanding. Derek Furial homers to left field on a 3-run home run. And that was huge. LSU took a 3-1 lead at the bottom of the fourth. And then Stephen Milam, Monster Milam. He may not be very tall. He's only 5'6". He might be shorter than me, which says a lot. But he homered to right field for his 11th home run of the season, a grand slam that put LSU up 7-1. And at that moment, that's when I knew, okay, this game's over. Because they just put in their LSU managed to take Kern out of the game. We all know about West Virginia's bullpen struggles. And at that point, I'm like, okay, this is not going to be the end of it. And, eventually the LSU scoring 16 runs. Chris Stanfield had an RBI single that led to the game. Derek Curiel had another RBI single, that led the game to being 8-1, and then Chris Stanfield had a 2 RBI single, which made the score 10-1 in the bottom of the 5th. LSU, by the way, scored 7 runs in the 5th inning. West Virginia was able to kind of get back in the game a little bit. They made it it was a 10-5 game at the top of the 6th. Who was it? S. Keen, C. Swain, and Bree Kresser. Chase Swain, Brody Kresser, and Skylar Keen all had RBI base hits. Chris Swain had an RBI single. Kresser had a reach on Fielder Schwartz, which allowed a run to come home. And then, of course, Skylar Keen had a 2 RBI single to right center field. But LSU did not stop there. They scored 6 runs in the bottom of the 6th inning. Derek Curiel once again had an RBI walk. He managed to get forced to walk with the bases loaded. That led him to get his 5th RBI of the game. Then Ashton Larson walked in the bottom of the 6th, had another RBI off of a forced walk, and then Josh Pearson, who, by the way, that was a very questionable move at the time when Jay rolled out with Josh Pearson, not only in the starting lineup, but the leadoff man, and that was something that was very interesting.
Not just that, but dropping Curiel all the way down to 7th.
Yes.
That was what is Jay doing? But turns out Jay Johnson knows baseball.
Yeah. Anthony, Jay always does something where you're like, why would you do that? And then all of a sudden, oh my God, that was actually, I don't think that was the intention, but man, that seemed like it now looks like a genius move.
Yeah.
Back to Twitter, I'm going to share this with you guys too. Give me 1 second. Twitter. Look, and that's a freezing cold take right there. Josh Pearson leading off is interesting. Also, Curiel on the 7th hole. He had 400 last weekend with 2 doubles, 2 RBIs, and 4 runs in the regional. 2 very interesting moves by Jay Johnson, and they ended up being 2 great moves. I don't know the exact intentions. Maybe they have it in the transcript. I don't know the exact intentions of those moves, but they worked well in LSU's favor, Zach. Josh Pearson, grand slam home run. He was 2 for 5 on the day, forced with 4 RBIs off of that grand slam. 2 grand slams for LSU. And West Virginia was able to put 4 more runs on the board with back-to-back home runs. 2 home runs, 1 in the 7th inning and 1 in the 9th. One was from Gavin Kelly, who hit a 2-runner home run, and then Kyle West hit a 2-run home run in the top of the 9th inning. But that ended up being the final margin. LSU wins 16-9, Zach.
Yeah, I think some people got a little up in arms about Cade Anderson getting touched up for 4 runs in that 5th inning. But you got to understand, LSU was at bat for like 30 minutes. It felt like on the bottom half of the 4th inning, and he just came off of getting buzzed by in the elbow or the back, wherever that was. So I'm sure if there was some swelling going on, being inactive for that long, I'm not worried about that. Hunt Palmer said that Anderson sounded, quote, pissed off in the presser. So I'm sure he's not happy with what his outing was, but you can't always guarantee 16 runs. Like, that's not how this tournament works, but Anderson was more than good enough. And I think if this was the lower leverage situation, Anderson probably could have given you 1 more inning if need be. And speaking of leverage, I think the biggest takeaway is that Jay Johnson did not have to burn a higher leverage arm or a more quote unquote trustworthy arm from the bullpen. You didn't have to go to Kason Evans. You didn't have to go to Zach Cowan because the game got so out of hand. Yeah, Williams kind of, wasn't great in the 9th inning, but you had a 9-run lead to work with, so you could afford to let him take his lumps. They'll be better for it in the long run, but that sets the stage tomorrow to go potentially Ianson for 6 innings, Cowan for an inning and Evans to take you home. So this is breaking about as beautifully as it could. And you still have, even if you do want to hold like an Evans for a potential game 3, you could still go to a Shores or a Newts, or maybe have Cowan go a little bit longer. So this is breaking pretty favorably for LSU's way. We've said that really all tournament long, where, wow, they got a favorable draw. Wow, all these other high seed teams are dropping out in front of them. Wow, they're not having to use their top arms just yet. This is, I don't know, it feels like the stars are kind of aligning for LSU this year.
Oh yeah, definitely. And before after the regionals, they actually had Vegas had LSU favored to win the College World Series, which there's some people like, really, like, but then when you start to think about it, you're like, oh, you know what, they actually have a shot. But before we get into all of that, because that's actually going to be a major discussion during this stream. But I want to go over some of the stats real quick, some of the comparison stats. I actually going to pull this up for you guys so you can see it as well and break it down with us. But if you look at what's going on here, LSU only got 8 hits, right? They only had 8 hits. West Virginia actually out-hit LSU. But it was a very similar.
7.
What's up?
They out-hit LSU and lost by 7.
Yeah, right, exactly. And it really was very similar, like the Little Rock game, the game that LSU lost 10-4. LSU actually out-hit Little Rock, but Little Rock made the most of their opportunities when they had runners on base. I believe they went 4 for 4 with runners on third and less than 2 outs. And if you look at LSU, they went 8 for 31. Not the greatest day at the plate, but it was it was an average day at the plate. And they went 1 for 10 with 2 outs. But with runners on, they went 5 for 16, which is a batting average 313. With runners scoring position, they went 5 for 10. So you converted on half of your opportunities with runners scoring position. You went 4 for 8 with when you let off. Their leadoff hitters went 4 for 8. So that's another 500 stat. And then with runners on third with less than 2 outs, 5 for 6. You only had 1 missed opportunity with runners on third with less than 2 outs. Bases loaded, 2 for 3. That was based off the 2 grand slams, of course, from both Monster Milam and Josh Pearson. You went 15 for 25 on your advancement opportunities. So on and so forth. And West Virginia did a very good job hitting off of Cade Anderson, of course. Cade Anderson is a left-handed hitter, so a left-handed pitcher. So it makes sense why they had 9 hits because it was a decent day for West Virginia. And also, you have to factor this in. 3 of the top 4 hitters for West Virginia are left-handers. So it doesn't shock me that they were able to hit the ball as well as they did because it was a very favorable matchup for West Virginia's hitting lineup. But Cade Anderson did his job, and so did LSU's offense. I said this. I actually wrote in the article on CrestCitySports.com. If you want to look it up, actually, I'll post it in the group chat as well. But I said that LSU needed to score as much runs as early as possible because you just don't know if Cade Anderson. If you didn't know, Cade Anderson can hold up because West Virginia's batting lineup. If you look at their batting lineup, they have 5 guys that are lefties, which I know that is a fun fact for you, Zach. I know you're a left-handed guy. You mentioned that quite a bit during the show. Maybe not. I know they're on the opposite team, but I guess lefty solidarity there.
Yeah, we all stand together.
Yep, definitely. And LSU didn't have to win, right? They scored 60 runs. You had a great day at the plate. Yes, maybe you want to improve on the mound, but then again, it was a very favorable matchup for West Virginia, just given the fact that 3 of their top 4 hitters are lefties, and 5 of the guys in the batting lineup are lefties. So, but just a great day for LSU, Zach.
Can you go to home stats for me right quick? Because I'm really glad you mentioned the Little Rock game that LSU lost.
Yes.
What was the thing that doomed them, LSU, in that Little Rock game they lost? Free passes. Well, how many free passes did LSU get? 8 walks, 5 hit by pitches. That's 13 free passes.
Yeah.
If West Virginia wants to blame anything for that, blame yourselves for giving LSU 13 extra opportunities. That's what did LSU against Little Rock, and the tables flipped 4 days later, whatever it was. So
Yeah,
LSU
and
had maybe 4 walks total. So they kept the free passes down on their end. So good on them.
Yeah, definitely. And also, I mentioned too. Look at Cade Anderson. Look, he won the game, and he still had a decent outing. Well, I would say it wasn't. I know he was disappointed with the outing, but he still. I mean, he did allow a lot of hits. 9 hits. He had 7 runs off of 9 hits, 6 of which were earned. But and only 2 walks, and he had 7 strikeouts. But once again, this was a very favorable matchup for West Virginia. Because of the fact that they had 5 guys in their batting lineup that were left-handed. And the fact that, and that's what made this day even better for LSU's batting lineup, because you were able to produce 16 runs, which was greatly needed because 7 of the runs came when Cade Anderson was on the mound. They allowed 2 runs. I know they allowed 2 runs when they put William Schmidt in, because that was based off of one of the home runs that was hit. I believe it was in the top of the 7th. The 7th or 8th. I forgot which inning it was, but I mean, overall, I mean, you're not going to have that problem tomorrow, right? Anthony Ianson is not a left-handed pitcher; he's a righty. Unfortunately, that's only bad news for Zach and also for West Virginia. But Anthony Ianson has been hot. He's actually probably been the better pitcher than Cade Anderson down the stretch, which is saying a lot considering the fact that how successful Cade Anderson has been in the second half of the season. So if LSU is able to keep the bats lively, hit in timely situations, get guys to score at home plate, I mean, they have a great chance to win tomorrow. Now, West Virginia they will be pitching Jack Carsonas tomorrow. Who, by the way, Zach, I'm not sure if you've seen a picture of him, but he's a wicked Fu Manchu mustache. A wicked Fu Manchu mustache. You don't see those a whole lot, but he's a very good pitcher. He has 76 strikeouts on the year. Actually, let me have his stats right here. I wrote it down. But Jack Carsonas, he's 6 for 3 on the year with a 2.94 ERA. 24. He's allowed 24 runs, which 21 were earned, but he's allowed 58 hits, 16 walks, 76 strikeouts, and 64.1 innings pitched. So he's a highly effective pitcher for the Mountaineers. He was actually a reliever up until mid-April, and that's when they installed him to the starting rotation, and he's been their number 2 pitcher since then. So he's a highly effective pitcher. But if LSU is able to keep the bats going, they'll be able to win the series. I think that was the problem with LSU so far. Is the inconsistency at the plate, and they need to build some consistency. And so far, since postseason plays began, they've been fairly consistent. This was actually the only game where they did not have 10 hits, yet they're able to produce 16 runs off of 8 hits due to timely hitting, which honestly probably was actually the main thing, because it's one thing to be hit with consistency, right? But it's another thing to not hit when you have runners in scoring position, and that's something that has hurt LSU more than just the overall inconsistency of hitting at the plate.
Do you think this lineup that Johnson rolled with today, this is going to be his left-handed starter opponent lineup like the rest of the way? Like, assuming you win and assuming Arkansas wins, you're going to most likely face Zach Root in game 1 in Omaha. Is the lineup we saw today of Pearson leading off, Curiel down in the 7 hole, is this what he rolls with next time around and for any future lefties? Because it worked.
I'm not sure if Derek Curiel will be at 7th, but yes, I do think so. I mean, Josh Pearson had a lot of success. I mean, like he went 2 for 5 at the play. He had a grand slam home run. We know, it really also remember Ethan Fry. Before he really became a everyday guy in the starting lineup, he was really brought in whenever LSU had to go against a team that had a lefty pitcher. Great example of that was I think it was Arkansas, Arkansas had they had a left-handed rotation. I think it was Arkansas or Tennessee, forgot which one. I think it was Arkansas, where he had a fantastic weekend. And when I came on here, I think that was a solo show because I know you. I think it was finals week. You had leak testing for you, or whatever. It's one of those very important weeks for you of the year because I know you're a teacher, Zach. But I mentioned that how much of Ethan Fry's success was the fact that Arkansas had a lefty. A lot of the pitchers were lefties, or was it Ethan Fry's officially coming on? Well, he has officially come on. He's been LSU's best hitter in the last month or two, and it's will continue. And also, there might be a chance where he might be drafted. And me and Alex, we're talking about that. Actually, I'm on the wrong thing. I actually have the wrong media thing up. I'm supposed to have the LSU live thing. There you go. I just realized I was like, damn, I have the Go Time thing up. But yeah, ironically, speaking of Go Time, Go Time with Alex, and one of the things we talked about was, Ethan Fry has a great chance to be drafted in MLB. But the two things that might convince him to come back is, number one, he had a breakout. He just had his breakout season. The last year, he usually didn't play that much. Really, actually, it's three things. It's the fact that this was his breakout year. The last year, he usually didn't play much. The number two is NIL. If he goes to the draft, if he enters the draft, and he can make just as much or more staying another year at LSU, that could be a huge factor. And then also, you got to think about this. He has not played in the field at all this year. He's been a designated hitter. That's one of the biggest reasons why Jared Jones came back for another year, to get another year experience playing in the field.
Teams don't just draft DHs.
No, they don't. Unless you're like just an amazing hitter and they feel like, we can develop it in the pros. But he might need another year because, look, next year, Jared Jones is gone after this year. There was a possible he possibly could have left last year. He had a great chance to leave last year, but he decided to come back. Like I said, probably because he wanted to get, he needed another year of fielding under his belt. But then also, he's going to be probably the first baseman for LSU next year if he were to return. I know he also plays in the outfield as well. He can play both first in the outfield. Also, I believe he can also play catcher too, if I remember that correctly. So he's more of a utility guy. He can play. He's a very versatile player. Ironically, like Trey Morgan, he can play a lot of different positions, and I think that's what makes it great. But also, he's come along as a hitter. But yeah, Ethan Fry's a left-handed batter. Josh Pearson, of course, is a lefty. I think down the stretch, I think this lineup could be the lineup to use in Omaha. And also, I know Josh Pearson hasn't played a lot, but we know Jay likes playing Josh Pearson in these type of moments, and these big type of moments.
He's got a knack for it.
He's got a knack for it. And then also, he played in Omaha. He was a everyday starter in Omaha. So I could only imagine that you'll see Josh Pearson in the starting lineup and also in the field when you get to Omaha, especially game one against Arkansas. If Arkansas, say, were to win against Tennessee, if they were able to win 2 out of 3 games against Tennessee, they won game one. We know that they won 4-3 about 15 to 20 minutes ago. But yes, Zach, to answer your question, yeah, I do think this will be the lineup that you will see in Omaha if LSU were to play Arkansas, or really just any team that will have a lefty starting on the mound.
Yeah. And kudos to Jay, man. Even in super regional play, he's still willing to tinker and toy and experiment with the lineup. Because usually, I even said on this show a couple weeks ago, like around like mid-April, early May, like, hey, man, the time for experimenting with the lineup is over. You got to roll with who you got. But Jay turns out knows more baseball than I do.
Yeah,
kind of hurts my feelings, but I guess he does.
I remember, and we've actually talked about this on the show. I remember 2 years ago in 2023 where Jay rolled out with Paul Skeens for game one, and they were going against Tulane. Tulane was a team that had an 18-40 record. I think they were the team that had the worst record to ever make the tournament because they happened to win the conference tournament, which, by the way, the American Athletic Conference is a pretty tough mid-major conference. So the fact they were able to win as one of the worst teams in the conference was pretty incredible. But they were able to advance to the postseason, and then everyone's like, "Why would you roll out Paul Skeens?" I mean, everyone was criticizing him. Like you were criticizing because I remember I called you you called me in the press box like before the game. I remember Mike Rooney on ESPN was killing him. Matt Moscona, everybody else on Twitter was killing him. But then I was like, I was like trying to criticize him too. Then I started thinking about it. I was like, wait, LSU's bullpen has been suspect, right? They were suspect weeks leading into the season, right? So you didn't want to waste the bullpen. You also have to factor in, did he think the weather was going to be bad? Because remember, the weather was really bad that day. I think there was a major weather delay. Either it was before the game, or I think until the next game. Because I remember like the first 2 days there was a whole bunch of weather delays. And then also on top of that, Oregon State's pitching staff, they were dealing with some injuries. So if LSU, let's say you want to keep Paul Skeens out for 8 innings, LSU would probably have a much fresher bullpen as you got later into the regional, and that's what happened. Oregon State, as great as they were dealing with some injuries in their pitching staff, and that proved it. That's why LSU was able to escape with the regional, right? Because remember, game 2, they rode over Ty Floyd. Oregon State had a decent lead over LSU. Then the rain happens. It was like a 3 or 4 hour delay. You come back out. That's the Thatcher Hurd game where Thatcher came on the mound and really lit up Oregon State. I mean, he did allow like a home run. I think it was 2 homers actually in that game. But he limited Oregon State, which allowed LSU to come back and win that game. And then the next game LSU had to play against Oregon State again. LSU blew them out the park. They ran them out the park. And then, of course, we all know what happened after that. So, yeah, Jay Johnson isn't afraid to make these bold type of decisions, right? Good bit of times it works. But there's some times where it comes back to bite him in the ass. But overall, this is why he wins. This is why he wins trophies. This is why he wins games. This is why he's a national championship winning coach. This is why he's had so much success throughout his career, because he's not afraid to take risks. And that's all part of coaching, no matter what sport it is. Jay Johnson has been to Omaha 3 times, and looks like he'll take his 4th trip to Omaha. And, he was also, now before LSU, when he was at Arizona, he was literally 1 out away from winning 1 run away from winning that championship. I believe they had 2 guys. One of them was on in scoring position, and they were down by 1 run to Coastal Carolina. Yeah. And so, they were really close. He was really close to winning that championship when he was at Arizona. And so that's kind of like a deja. I want to say deja, but what's the term I'm looking for? But that's almost like what if Arizona comes back and wins that game late in the bottom of the 9th inning. So it's just kind of one of those crazy things. But thank God for Coastal Carolina. So yes, LSU fans, you can thank Coastal Carolina. I know they upset you in the 2016 Super Regional, but you can thank Coastal Carolina for bringing AJ Johnson. So thank you, Coastal Carolina, and you're the team I'm cheering for, other than LSU. By the way, I really like something. Coastal Carolina has really won over a lot of fans with the coaches rant over how O'Sullivan reacted and everything like that. They've slowly become America's team so far. LSU's still our team, but they've won over a lot of people.
Yeah, and Coastal, they're the first team into Omaha, so maybe and they're on the other side of the bracket. So maybe what's today, June 7th? Maybe in about 2.5, 3 weeks, maybe Jay Johnson and LSU can then settle the score. That was 2016 because Coastal took out LSU to win that championship over Jay Johnson. How poetic would it be for LSU and Jay to even the score against our beloved Chanticleers?
By the way, what an awesome nickname! It's a Chanticleer's a rooster. That's a unique name because they're like, what the hell is a Chanticleer? You look at it, oh, it's a rooster. So it's a very, very interesting nickname. One of the more unique ones. in college sports. But actually, let's show you guys a Chanticleer bird wiki. Actually, we'll look this up. So a Chanticleer, where is it? So it's named after a rooster that appears in a fable. For anybody who doesn't want to know, so it's basically another name for a rooster. It's good. So it's named after a character in a fable. That's pretty interesting.
A mythical rooster.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. But anyway, Zach, let's talk about LSU's chances of winning the College World Series. This is something that me and Alex did talk about too on Go Time. But one of the things that that a lot of people, when I saw this, I was like, really? But then when you come to think about it, you got to go over the teams that had lost. I mean, Vanderbilt got upset by Wright State. Vanderbilt got upset not Vanderbilt. Texas got upset by UTSA. By the way, UTSA is a really good baseball team.
They might be coastal this year.
Right, but know that they're also on LSU side of the bracket in the College Series. So if you beat Arkansas in game 1, you would have to play the winner of Texas San Antonio and Duke. And Duke is a good team, but I don't want to play the Texas San Antonio team because they beat Texas twice with relative ease. So they're one of the hottest teams right now in the country. So they beat Texas, right? Auburn just lost against got lost against Coastal Carolina. They're the team that lost to Coastal Carolina that allowed Coastal Carolina to be the first team to punch their ticket to Omaha. Arkansas is the third seed, but they're in a super regional with Tennessee. So 3 of the top 4 seeds have been eliminated. Actually, let me pull up the bracket too. To kind of give you guys an idea. Who else lost to?
North Carolina lost, and North Carolina, I think nobody's talking about UNC. I think that they could possibly do it, and they got a winner-take-all game tomorrow. Fittingly enough, Jay Johnson's old team, Arizona, they're pushing UNC to the brink. Winner advances to Omaha, and man, I would really appreciate if Arizona could take out UNC because that's a really good team up there in Chapel Hill.
Oh yeah, definitely. Ironically, Jay Johnson's old team. So that'll be very interesting. But yeah, if you look at it so far, I mean, Tennessee's still in it, but it's a 3-game series. So they can play game 2 tomorrow, and of course, there's if there's a game 3, it will be played on Monday if Tennessee were able to win game 2 tomorrow. But Auburn's lost, so that's 3 of the top 4 teams that have lost so far. North Carolina's in it, but they're going to play a rubber match against Arizona tomorrow. LSU, of course, is the number 6 overall seed. If they win game 2 tomorrow, they will advance to Omaha, and they'll be the first team from the SEC to punch their ticket. Murray State, they beat Ole Miss. Ole Miss is the 10th seed. Duke won the Athens Regional. Georgia was the number 7 seed. They lost. So, I mean, that is 6 of the top 10 teams that have been eliminated so far, Zach. And the more you factor that in, it just seems like LSU is the favorite to win it all.
Yeah, I think we can probably all agree that LSU, Arkansas, and Tennessee are probably the 3 most talented teams left. Well, one of those, Arkansas and Tennessee, one of those has to lose. So that's another talent hurdle that's just going to be cleared out of LSU's way, assuming LSU finishes the job turn, which I think we both expect they do. So, I mean, I know it's baseball and it's a weird thing, but with as much talent as LSU has, and you just see teams of equal or better talent, just more of them start to drop off. I hate that my mind just keeps leaping towards, just penciling LSU into a finals, but it's about as favorable of a path LSU could have ever dreamed of. The thing that kind of scares me, I don't know. We're going to assume it's Arkansas. I don't know, in this little 4-team pod like we saw in the Baton Rouge Regional, that may not be in LSU's favor. I think in this 2 out of 3 setup like they have with West Virginia, the super regional, that favors them better because, you just rolled Anderson Irons and then you're done. We kind of saw what happened last week when LSU, even in the winners bracket, needed to win a game. They didn't, and fortunately they were able to come. It really is going to come down to just can they stay in the winners brackets. I mean, that said, we saw them come out of nowhere in the losers bracket 2 years ago, and guys like Nate Ackenhausen and Griffin Herring came out of nowhere to save LSU's season. And maybe that happens again this year, but I'd be really surprised if lightning strikes twice in that format. I think LSU's got to stay in the winners bracket in Omaha for them to realistically have a chance at winning this thing.
And I also want to point this out too, Zach. I mean, in the game they lost against Little Rock, they brought out Jane Newt because they just assumed that they're going to roll over Arkansas because they beat Arkansas Little Rock 7-0, right, in the game 1, right? And the way the bats have been rolling, you thought that they could win that game. It was that should have been a game they should have won. But they didn't expect all the walks that came out of that outing. And if they pitched Casey Evans and Zach Cowan, LSU wins game 3 and they don't play a elimination game the night after. So I think when you get to Omaha, if you do get to Omaha, if you win game 2 tomorrow, they're going to roll out Kate Anderson, game 1. First, or depending on the matchup, it depends on what matchup they want, right? Then to game 2, you roll out, Anthony Ianson. So let's say you win those 2 games. If you in the winner, in the game where, which if you win that game, which would be game 3, you advance to the semis. You're pitching most likely Casey Evans, right? And then Zach Cowan will follow him, whenever Casey Evans is done for the day or whatever. So you have an opportunity. I mean, they could win the winners bracket, but they have to take care of business. That's not an easy side of the bracket, right? Because you got, 10. So in your little pool, you have LSU, the winner of Arkansas, Tennessee. Then if you go up, you got 2 more pretty tough teams. Duke took game number 1. I'm going to assume they win tomorrow as well. Duke's been kind of knocking on the door for a little while now, and they're 1 game away from advancing to Omaha, I believe, for the first time in their program's history. And then you got 2 tough teams: it's Texas San Antonio, UCLA. UCLA is a pretty good team, and then of course Texas San Antonio might be the hottest team outside of Coastal Carolina right now, entering the postseason. So it's a very tough side of the bracket. Don't let that fool you, right? I mean, that's a pretty tough bracket. And also on top of that, your bullpen has been kind of suspect, right? I mean, yes, I do believe that the bullpen does get better once you get in the postseason. The past Jay Johnson teams have proved that. But Zach, if you take care of business in the winners bracket and you just keep winning and winning, and you win out, you get a week off. You play the championship series, and you're probably going to pitch Kate Anderson and Anthony Ianson, call it a wrap. But if you lose a game, that kind of throws that rotation out of order. Because remember when LSU had their semifinal matchup with Wake Forest, Paul Kingston pitched in the championship finals because he pitched a whole lot in that Wake Forest game, and luckily Thatcher Hurd pitched in a historic game that let LSU win game 1. Of course, we all know the disaster that was game 2, where Florida beat LSU 22-4, and then of course the next game 3, LSU won the whole damn thing by winning 18-4 over Florida.
Do you think? I wonder. I think we both are in agreement that, like, if you're in a game 3, like in a semifinal game, you want it to be Casey Evans. But I wonder how much is Jay going to be in the moment and saying, like, I need to get this win right now. So how long would you imagine they'd let an Anderson or an Ianson go? Basically, like, I guess what I'm wondering is maybe not so much on Evan's side, but how long does he tax Anderson and Ianson to reduce the amount of outs that this kind of sort of shaky bullpen is going to be tasked with getting? Because I don't know if I trust the pen to get more than 9 outs right now.
And really, the issue with the pen is that they just don't throw strikes. And I'll say this: the one result out of that loss against Little Rock was that it showed that Cooper Williams could live up to the moment, right? I think
Maybe.
Cooper Williams lived up to the moment. And look, he was the best one. He only allowed 1 walk. He struck out 4 guys in 3 innings. He did a great job in what was a difficult moment for any freshman. And then Maverick Rizzi, has pitched well recently, and especially he closed out at the opening game of the Baton Rouge Regional. So I think you got 2 fantastic guys there. Zach Cowell, we're still waiting for him to get out of his rut. But Zach Cowell, for a long stretch of the season, was one of LSU's more reliable bullpen guys. And I think he'll be able to come through. He's just got to get out of his rut, get a little more confidence. Because I think he can. He's a veteran guy. He's a veteran guy in his the staff. I mean, he was an ace. He was the ace at Wofford. I mean, he's going to get out of the rut eventually. It's just a matter of when, and hopefully it's really soon. And maybe he could do something tomorrow. Maybe Jay wants to bring him out for game 2 after Ianson's done his thing, and give him a couple innings to regain his confidence back. Because I think he's just in a rut right now. We all know he's a really good pitcher. So you got 3 guys that I can trust, right? Now you just need to find maybe 1 or 2 more. Casey Evans, and I think Casey Evans, really Shores was supposed to be the guy. I mean, Shay Shores, he was originally part of the starting rotation. We know it didn't work out. But I thought that maybe Shay Shores being in the bullpen actually is a good thing. Because we've seen him have a lot of success out of the bullpen before. Of course, his freshman year, before he had Tommy John. So I thought he was going to bounce back, but he just never did. It's just been, the problem with LSU's staff is that there's a lot. The guys you can't trust are freshmen. It wasn't like 2023 where you had Riley Cooper and Nate Ackenhausen, guys who are veteran pitchers. Also what hurts LSU too is you're without Gavin Guidry.
Yeah.
Gavin Guidry was supposed to be your top reliever.
Yeah.
I mean, of all the pitchers right now, they're pitching LSU staff right now. I think he might have been the only one that pitched in Omaha. And he closed that. Remember, he closed out the Florida, the game 3 of the College World Series. I think he pitched in 2 or 3 games in the College World Series as a freshman. He might be the only guy left on that staff that has actually pitched in Omaha.
Yeah, I think so. I don't have the roster in front of me, but I can't think of anyone else who. Yeah, it's got to be Guidry. God, you haven't lost anything because you never had him this year, but man, the Guidry thing's the biggest. What if? If LSU doesn't do it, it's going to be like, God, if they just had Guidry, they just had one more arm you could trust out of the bullpen to get.
Also wants to DJ Primo too. You got to trust. I know Jay likes to bring him out for matchup purposes, but he, every time Jay's brought him for a matchup purpose, he's been fantastic too. So there's that. But yeah, go ahead, Zach. I agree with you there.
Yeah, I was just saying, Guidry's the what could have been. I'm glad you mentioned Primo. I wonder at what point does Jay let Primo extend a little bit, because he has been effective in these lefty-lefty matchups. Okay, well, let him go get a second out, a third out. Let him get an inning. I don't know.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if he's going to bring him up for long stretches of time against West Virginia, because they do have 5 guys in the batting lineup that are lefties, and 3 of the top 4 batters in West Virginia's lineup are lefties. I now sound like a broken record right now, but that's something, when you think of these matchups, you got to think about that. That's a huge thing, because lefties are the only ones that could, hit lefty pitchers with some success because they're lefties. So yeah, but I think LSU needs to bear out maybe 1 or 2 guys. And really, what hurts them? Yeah, like I said, what hurts them is Gavin Guidry. If Gavin Guidry's in the bullpen right now, I think you feel a little bit more confident about this bullpen because of his experience. And really, that's really the only role he's ever had was being a relief pitcher, coming in these very stressful situations. He has closed out some tight games throughout his career, especially in his freshman year, where he says, "I'm going to throw the hammer on national television." He went viral for that. He's a dog. Nothing really phases him, and that kind of stems from pitching for one of the best programs in America at Barb. I'm not sure if you've been to Barb High School, but they got a gigantic stadium, and that's the Southwestern Louisiana region is one of the best regions for baseball. They got they bring out LSU sized crowds. I mean, I think Barb Stadium has like 7,000 people in that stadium. I gotta look it up. They have a lot. It's a big baseball stadium. It's a college-sized baseball stadium.
No, never been.
That's crazy. Hold on.
Never been, but I do know Barb is like the power of high school baseball, especially in this part of the country.
Yeah. Let me actually pull up this stadium. Well, it's not. I'm not sure. I saw it on Twitter, but yeah, go ahead, Zach. Yeah, but yeah, Gavin Guidry just not being part of this bullpen is a search LSU, and maybe when you go to Omaha, how much of not having Gavin Guidry is going to hurt LSU.
Yeah, but it's the card that you're dealt. You haven't had them, so you can't say that you lost something. I mean, yeah, you obviously have lost something, but this being all semantics. But if you told me before this tournament started, LSU's in Omaha and there's no Vanderbilt in its way anymore, there's no Georgia or Texas or Auburn in its way anymore, and you got to beat Arkansas 2 times to get to a championship series. Well, you beat Arkansas twice already, so why can't you beat Arkansas 2 more times?
Yeah, that's also another. Yeah, I have another question for you. Like, if you're LSU, or if you're just a fan in general of LSU, who would you rather play, Tennessee or Arkansas? I mean, that's a tough. I mean, I know LSU beat both teams, but just in terms of matchup purpose, who would you rather play? And that's something my dad asked me. I was like, I never really thought about that before, but I also know that we beat them twice.
I don't like Tennessee. I don't like the way they play, but I think I'd rather play this Tennessee team than that Arkansas team. That Arkansas team is probably the best offense in the country, 1 through 9. They probably hit a little more consistently than LSU does. But I won't be sad if Arkansas does knock out Tennessee. Just personally detest them so much. And I don't know. Maybe this is wrong to say, but something about Arkansas too. I might be coming around on Tennessee. I'd rather play Tennessee. But man, with all the times that Arkansas has come up short in Omaha, I guess you could look at it 2 ways. That eventually surely they're going to break through eventually, right? Or is it more of those things where it's just kind of embedded in their DNA that they don't win when they get to Omaha? And maybe that's, I don't know, maybe it's like a funk, a curse, or whatever you want to call it. But I mean, we all saw that Arkansas team drop or have the winning out of a national championship series fall between 2 dudes against Oregon State in 18, 19, whatever year that was.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand that was 6-7 years ago, and nobody currently on that team was on that team. But I don't know, man, just something about that program. They always come up short, and I just think that hangs over them. And I think if things get a little bit tight in Omaha, as they always do, I trust LSU more, because LSU, for as much as we've complained about them this year and they seem to underwhelm, they always just keep finding ways to win ugly and pulling games out their ass. And I don't know if Arkansas has that same type of F it, we're going to win this somehow or another.
Yeah, definitely. I actually want to share this because I just found it on YouTube. But this is their stadium.
Oh, that's Bar?
That's not as big. Yeah, it's not as big, but you look at the facility. I mean, it's basically like a college baseball facility. I mean, it really is. I mean, it's about like 1,300 seats, but I mean that's as big as you can see. That's bigger. That's as big as a lot of college baseball teams around the country, especially the smaller ones. Maybe not the big ones, but there's some schools that have those type of facilities across the country. But Zach, yeah, I mean that's the thing about Arkansas. It's like, winning the big one. They just haven't won the big one. And the most famous example of that was 2018, where was it 2018? As you said, 2018, where Arkansas was literally one out of the way. They already had a 1-0 series lead over Oregon State in the College World Series final. All they needed was one out. Oregon State hits a foul ball. They hit a foul ball. It looks like it's a routine pop-up. There's like several Arkansas players there. They're just waiting, okay, who's going to catch the ball? And if he does catch the ball, we're all going to jump on him, make a dog pile. We're all going to celebrate because we brought home the school's very first national championship. And then none of them caught it. The ball dropped right in front of them. And then when I saw that, I'm like, okay, Oregon State's about to win this game, are they? And that's exactly what happens. And actually, let me see if I can find the highlights because it was crazy. But yeah, Oregon State ended up coming back and winning that game. I mean, it was just a crazy outcome. Actually, let me see if I can find the exact moment when it happened. The summer right here. Oh, here it is. So, because I don't remember the whole details about it, but to kind of give you a visual representation of what happened, this is literally what happened. Oregon State hits a pop-up. Like, everyone's like, oh, my God, that could be it. That could be it. Everyone has the phones out, and no one catches the ball. And you don't think about it at the time, but look at the coach's face. He's like, oh, man, like, that's a – I mean, look. Everyone had their phones out. Look at the stands. Everyone had their phones out. Like they're pointing, had the hands pointed up. They're getting ready to celebrate. They're like, okay, next one. And the coach's like, oh, I don't know. And then like disaster happens. Like a few pitches later. I think this might be it right here. And watching the next one. Okay, when is it? God, I forget how long baseball is sometimes. Oh, my God. There we go. I think this is it. This has to be it right here because this has to be it right here. And nope. Oh, my God. When's that exact moment? Oh, okay. Okay, this has to be it right here. God, this has to be right here. Oh, there it is. Yep. Base hit. Game side. And then they eventually, I think they took and then the game's tied, and Oregon State's pumped. Arkansas pitcher's like, oh, man, they got to run. And what's it, Kyle? I forgot this guy's name, Kyle Turlock or whatever. He comes up. Oh, my God, baseball takes forever. Okay, this has to be the part. Base hit, or actually it was a home run. They take a 5-3 lead, and then Oregon State wins the game, and then they win Game 3 of the College World Series, and Oregon State takes home the third national championship in program history. Meanwhile, Arkansas goes back home trophyless. I mean, when you think of Arkansas baseball, that is literally the first thing you think of. That final sequence, the top of the ninth in the 2018 College World Series. You bring up Arkansas and you mention the postseason. That's the first thing that pops up. For not only for fans of college baseball and rival fans, but also Arkansas fans themselves. They just can't get away from the boogeyman.
Yep, and it's never going to happen until it does happen. I mean, it was never going to happen for the Red Sox until it did. It was never going to happen for the Cubs until it did. So
for the Saints.
For the Saints, and it did. So it probably is going to happen eventually. Statistically speaking, it probably is going to happen. They're too talented. They're always way too good every single year, year in and year out. But they got to prove it. And call me skeptical, but LSU wins in Omaha. Arkansas doesn't.
Yeah.
But that's
like LSU's won 7 national championships. They've won 7 since 1991. They've won 7 national championships in the last 30 years. And a lot of people give Paul Mainieri crap for not winning more. But I think that's just based off of, kind of being spoiled, because Skip won 5 national championships in a 9-year stretch. There's only one other baseball coach that has done that, which was Rod Dedeaux, who was the head coach of USC. USC, by the way, has the most national championships in college baseball history with, I believe they have 12. And one coach was responsible for most of those. It was Rod Dedeaux. He was the head coach there. He actually had 2 different stints. Served there from 1943 to 1945. Then he took the job again and from 1951 to 1986. Actually, his brother, I think that's his brother, Barry Dedeaux. Maybe, I'm not sure how he's related. I think that's probably his. Okay, actually, where's the relationship there? Actually looked up. Actually, also, speaking of championships in Louisiana, Rod Dedeaux is from New Orleans. I don't think you knew that. He's born in New Orleans. They moved to L.A. When he was a kid, and then and then was an L.A. resident since then. But I'm trying to see where was that his dad? Because they both have the same last name. I mean, hold on, let me see where it says. Berry. Okay, where does it say? Maybe I missed it. Hold on. What? Okay, hold on. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm tripping, guys. I'm home. Let me see. Barry Dedeaux, USC. Was that his brother? Okay, I'm so confused. There has to be some relationship here. Okay, I'm tripping. Oh, I gotta look this all the way up. Hold on. Okay, it just bothered me. So I'm always about trying to make sure I get the right stats. So how do you take up? Was I know they're related. I forgot they were like brothers, whatnot, but doesn't matter. But yeah, Rod Dedeaux won 10 of USC's national championships, and that's the only coach who did that. He won 10 national championships in and for a while, I'm pretty sure. So he won from 1968 to 1978. He won 6 national titles. That's the only other coach that you could think of that won as many national championships Skip did in the 90s. I mean, that's it. That's the only one. And if you look at LSU's history, they just have a knack for winning big games, pulling the rabbit out of the hat to win these big games. They're called the Cardiac Cats for a reason. The Warren Morris home run, the walk-off against Stanford in the 2000 World Series, 2023 with Tommy White hit the game-winning home run, and what probably is considered to be the greatest college baseball game of all time. So LSU just found ways to pull a rabbit out of the hat, and that's just the history of LSU. Meanwhile, Arkansas, they just can't seem to get out of their own way. It seems like almost every year they are considered to be one of the favorites to win the national title, and then they don't. Right? I mean, I remember 2021, they were the number 1 overall seed. They looked like the best team in the country. I thought that team was going to win it all, and then they got upset by NC State. Yeah. Right? The next year, Arkansas was a favorite to win again. All they had to do was beat Ole Miss, who, by the way, barely got into the tournament, the last thing to get in the tournament, and they couldn't get it done. Arkansas just finds ways to knock themselves out. Like they snatched victory, they snatched defeat from the jaws of defeat.
There you go.
Victory, yeah, the opposite.
Defeat from
They snatched defeat from the jaws of victory. Like they just hurt themselves each and every time. But I don't want to speak too soon myself because LSU still have to play them in Omaha, and that can be a very well match. But I think we're just going to talk about this now because we're college baseball junkies, and that whenever you think of Arkansas, you just think of the choke jobs that they've had. But Arkansas is knocking on the door. It's just a matter of when they can do it. Dave Van Horn is a Hall of Fame coach. Like, he is due. But we also said the same thing about Mike Martin, who's the head coach of Florida State for forever, the winningest college baseball coach of all time, and never won it.
Baseball's a cruel game. The guy, I can't name the coach of Coastal Carolina, but he's got one.
Gary Gilmore.
Sure.
Yeah.
And Mike Martin doesn't. And Dave Van Horn currently doesn't. You know, it's just so you can't predict it sometimes.
Yeah. Mike Batesel, head coach of Fresno State. He was the head coach of Fresno State in that miraculous 2008 team that won the whole thing.
Well, Wonder Dogs.
Yeah. He has been. But that Mike Martin. I mean, it's just crazy to think about just all, that Mike Martin. Who
Rice has one. Rice is a food.
Bro, okay, I'll say this. Rice growing up was a power. They were a power in the 90s and 2000s. I mean, Rice played LSU quite a bit whenever you got to the postseason. Rice, was an absolute power. I mean, they what Rice, how you see Tennessee and LSU and Arkansas in the college series all the time. Rice was in there a lot.
Rice,
when the coach, College State Fullerton was a power. College State Fullerton's won 5 national championships in baseball. Let me actually pull up Rice's. But most of those championships were won by Wayne Graham. Wayne Graham was the head coach from 1992 to 2017, and when he retired in 2017, that's when the program fell out of prominence. I mean, Rice with the College World Series 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times between 1997 and 2008, and their last match 2008, and of course they won the whole thing in 2003. And I believe they who they beat in the College World Series. It was bracket and it was Stanford. But Rice played LSU quite a bit. Oftentimes you saw Rice play against LSU in the postseason. I mean, Rice was a power. They were a national title contender throughout my childhood, and then they kind of fell. They haven't been the same. 2008 was the last time they won the College World Series, and also they really haven't been the same as a program since Wayne Graham retired in 2017.
Yeah, and like I said, just back to the Arkansas point, it's just hard. Yeah, you can't predict it, and then can we agree that though more likely than not the winner of this year's College World Series probably is going to emerge from that Arkansas LSU matchup?
Well, on the opposite side, so you have Coastal Carolina. They already not punched their ticket in. Then you have North Carolina and Arizona, so you get the winner of that. So, I mean, I think the left side of the bracket might be a little bit tougher because you have a bunch of really good teams. And it's because here's the thing: LSU and Arkansas have been there before, but the two teams at the top of the bracket haven't been there before. It will be their first time. Let's say UTSA were to beat UCLA later tonight, and then you had and then Duke went on to advance to Omaha. You have two teams that haven't been to the College World Series before. UCLA, who's the other, Morris State, who's the team that Duke is playing the Durham Super Regional. this was the program's first time they've advanced to the Super Regional. Period. Yeah. UCLA, who was playing UTSA in the Los Angeles Super Regional, they haven't been to the College World Series since 2013. Meanwhile, on the left side of the bracket, Louisville has been there quite a bit before. Florida State went last year. Oregon State hasn't been to the College World Series in a while, but they've been to the Super Regional, I believe, like the last 2 years or so. This is the second straight year in the Super Regional, but Oregon State as a program is a college baseball blue blood, right? Then you go to North Carolina, Arizona. North Carolina, Arizona both have been to the College World Series in the last few seasons. Coastal Carolina, although they haven't been to the College World Series since they won in 2016, right? They're one of the better teams in the country, and that's the expectation is for them to go to Omaha because they have been one of the better major programs for quite some time now. And of course, but I know Auburn lost today, but Auburn, since we're talking about teams' experience, Auburn went to the College World Series a couple years ago. So, I mean, on the left side of the bracket, I feel like those teams are more better equipped to play in Omaha because they've been there before. Meanwhile, the only two teams on LSU side of the bracket, the only two, three teams that have been to Omaha before are Tennessee, Arkansas, and LSU. The other team, the two teams at the top haven't. The 4 teams at the top haven't been to Omaha before. Look, if they get to Omaha, Omaha, that's a huge accomplishment for them. Meanwhile, if you look at the bottom half of the bracket, and of course the left side of the bracket, that's part of the business. Let's get to Omaha. Let's win the national championship. That's the expectation. Those 4 teams at the top, when they say, "Oh, let's get to Omaha," they're going to celebrate and throw a parade. But for a lot of teams that are currently still left, that's just part of the business. Let's celebrate we got to Omaha. That's a huge accomplishment. But when we get to Omaha, we want to add another trophy to the trophy case. Or for Arkansas, they're first because they're still there. I mean, those teams are desperate because they haven't won it before, and they've been there so many times. And I think really, if you look at the LSU Arkansas matchup, hey, I would rather play a team like Tennessee who won it last year than Arkansas because Arkansas is hungry.
Yeah, that's true. That's also true. Maybe Tennessee's a little complacent, I guess. I don't know how much. I'm not a competitor at that level.
I'm not saying they're like complacent, but I mean the thing is, it's like
they
won it before they didn't. Arkansas, it's like they're as a program, they're still looking to win one. They haven't won one, and they're just more hungry. They're more desperate. They would cut off their own private parts to win the national championship because they're just. I know that's a wild thing to say, but that's where that program's at.
Yeah.
Outside of Florida State, they're the best. You can make a case that Arkansas is the best program in college baseball history to not win a national championship.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll see. Arkansas, we think Arkansas gets the job done tomorrow. Liam Doyle throws tomorrow for Tennessee.
Yeah. If Arkansas bats can get it going, I think they have a great shot. Like I said, Tennessee has not beaten Arkansas in Fayetteville since Tony Vitello's taken over. They're already down 1-0 in the series. That's a hard climb to come back for. You don't want to be down 1-0 on the road, right? It's one thing to be down 1-0 at home because at least you have the home crowd against you. You're 1-0 down at the bomb in front of those crazy ass Arkansas fans, and that's a very difficult place to play. When I mean crazy ass Arkansas fans, I mean like I'm giving them praise, right? Like they're crazy. They have a fantastic atmosphere, and when you are a team that's down 1-0 in that atmosphere, even if you have Liam Doyle, that's a huge that's a tough task to ask that Tennessee team to come out with a victory. I think can Tennessee come out with a victory? Oh yeah, because you have Liam Doyle pitching on the mound tomorrow. But Arkansas's bats can get it going and get Liam Doyle out of the game early. That's Arkansas's game to lose. I mean, really, the series is Arkansas to lose because they're the higher seed. because they might have the better team, because they're at home, because they haven't won a national championship before in the program's history. They're hungry. They're hungry. And if they lose tomorrow, that's just another chapter of, well, Arkansas can't get it done.
Yeah.
But anyway, Zach, you have any last things to say before we wrap things up?
LSU in 2. I don't foresee any way LSU loses tomorrow without Ianson going. I think this is a wrap, and this will be LSU's 20th appearance in Omaha this time tomorrow. Or I guess maybe not this time tomorrow. By midnight tomorrow, because they play at 5 tomorrow, so probably around like 10:30, 10:45-ish, LSU will be on their way to Omaha.
Yeah,
and we'll be there,
man. I think so too. Oh, I won't be there.
Well, I mean, we'll be on here.
Oh yeah, definitely on here. Yeah, we me and Zach both went with each other in 2023. We're there for the first weekend. That was a great experience. So we'll actually we'll be having recaps of every game from now here on out. Tomorrow might be a little bit later because I'm coming back from Baton Rouge, and if they win, I'm probably going to be on the field for quite a bit because the team's celebrating. You're getting like solo interviews and stuff like that. So it might be a little while, but if really, actually, I think if we win, if the LSU wins tomorrow, I think we'll just do the live show Monday because that's what we do every Monday at 6:00 p.m. Central Time, 6 o'clock p.m. Central Time, 7:00 p.m. Eastern Time. We have this live show here every Monday. Eventually, we're going to have a second live show, but right now we're still trying to build this channel, and I think we're doing a great job of that. The algorithm seems like it's coming back. We're getting a little bit better viewership on all of our videos. When we took over, there really wasn't much growth in the channel. It was really just highlights. Now we're putting up more and more content, and we're going to keep putting up more and more content, Zach. You got recruiting seasons, has been going on at full steam, and we just completed the first week, just completed the first week and a half of recruiting. We're going to have on guests at Media Days in July. There's going to be a lot of storylines coming out. Of course, we're going to have commitments. So we're going to do our best to put out as much content as possible, especially for football, because this is a college football podcast network, media network. But we just happen to talk about baseball because it's a big deal for everyone here in LSU. And also gives you content because you don't want to use too much of your football content because you may want to save that for later. But anyway, if you love the stream, if you like what we do, please like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and then also make sure to click on the bell so you can get notified whenever me and Zach go live, or you get a new video that will discuss a lot of topics, even topics from the live show that we clip. So in case you don't, if you don't want to find it in the live show, you got to scroll through it. We'll post it in a separate clip so you can go back and watch it. But thanks again for watching on. I'm Chris Asher. That's Zach Jenda. We are the two co-hosts here on the Voice of College Football Network, the LSU YouTube channel. We'll see you guys later, and go Tigers. The dog agrees.